Welcome to the Network Engineering Video Blog. I'm your host, Michael Crane. Today we're going to do a little bit on test tools. I'm trying to break up the testing videos. I want to test that lag, and I'm trying to break these videos up so I don't have any more hour-and-a-half long blogs because they're just way too big, and so I'm going to try to break these down into little pieces, so hopefully this works better for everybody. So what we're going to do today is hopefully pretty quick. We're going to install a couple test tools and try to get it set up a little bit. And the two tools we're going to install today are Iperf and Byobu. Iperf is a traffic generating tool that generates layer 3 IP packets, and Byobu, I don't remember exactly what that acronym stands for. It's like bring your own, I forget what it is, but anyway, here's the website for Byobu. It's www.byobu.co, and it's a terminal. It's like a VT100, except you can have multiple terminals inside one display, and I'll show you more when we're setting this up. And you need that with Iperf. And by the way, the web address for Iperf is www.iperf.fr. And the reason why you need that with Iperf is Iperf is going to have a client side and a server side. And if you want duplex traffic, you're going to have a client and a server and a client and a server. And I believe that's how it works. That's the way it used to work. I haven't used Iperf in several years, so it might have changed. And but yeah, so if you're going to have multiple windows open, you don't want to have like 10 different shell sessions open on your monitor. You'll just get confused. So this right here, this Byobu, will help us group them together so we know. And also Byobu, you can actually exit out of the shell and it will still stay running, almost like a background process. But you can, when you SSH back in, you can just type in Byobu and it'll pop your session right back to where you were, which is really handy. So we're going to draw this out a little bit, kind of show you what's going on, and then we'll install them and maybe look at them a little bit. We'll see how long this video goes. Okay, well, here's we're going to get started on the test setup, and as like any good network engineer will do, you always start with layer 1. So here's the Cisco lag test setup layer 1 drawing, and we'll just go over this real quick. So here's our Cisco 3845 router and our Cisco 3750 switch, and the lag that we provisioned in a few videos back, or a couple videos back. And our lag basically has 300 bits per second at BPS is bits per second. It has 3 800 meg pipes in there, and or links, and it's in lag 1. So, and this is already provisioned. If you haven't seen that video, you can go look where we've set that up. That's quite a lengthy video. And so this is already here. Now for our test setup, if you remember from this video, so one of the things we're going to test is how it's going to load balance across these links right here in the lag, and it should load balance by the originating MAC address from this side, or that for traffic coming up this way, it should load balance per MAC. So what I expect to see is, since these have different MACs, it will put each one of these devices on a separate link, which is what we're expecting. And then on the way back, coming back in, it should do the exact same thing, except it's going to be looking, when it comes in this way, it's going to be looking at the two MAC address, not the from MAC address like this way. It's going to be looking at the 2, and then that should still do the same thing. So so what we're going to do today, I'm just going to provision one of these today, but I want to draw these out because once you see one, these other 2 are going to be identical. So we're just going to provision this one today. This is going to be generating a 100 megs of traffic using Iperf, and it's a Muxall MX2. It's running a flavor of Debian operating system. We're just going to call it number 1, and it's got a 100 meg pipe on ETH0, and it's going to be connected into the fast Ethernet port on the 3750 at 100. Okay, and then the second MX2 will be on 101, and the third MX2 will be on 102. So these are going to be transmitting and receiving traffic, so we get a full duplex load on this thing, because we wanted to see, is it going to be able to handle the traffic, and B, is it going to load balance properly across these links here. So we've got 3 generating 100 meg. We should be able to fill this up quite a bit, probably not 100%, because we're going to have remote access into these guys right here. So if we fill it up too much, we'll lose our remote access, and that won't be good. And then the last layer 1 device we've got here is it's going to be on, and there's actually another video setting this up, the Zotac ZBox SD, and it's on a 1 gig pipe hanging off the 3845 router, and it's also going to be on ETH0, and it's on gig 01 on the 3845. So this will be able to, so this is actually going to have several things in it, and this is where BYOBU comes in handy. So it's going to have to handle the traffic coming from this. So it's going to have 3 servers accepting traffic coming from these devices down here, and it's also going to have to generate, so it's going to have 3 clients generating traffic coming back to each one of these. So, and that's where the BYOBU comes in, because if that would be 6 different windows if you open them up in 6 separate SSH sessions. But with BYOBU, we can just do 1 and then just have separate windows inside of it, which you'll see later on when we set it up. Okay, so I've updated our drawing and added the layers, layer 2 and 3 components. There's really no layer 2 components on here. None of these are going to be doing any kind of VLAN tagging or that sort of thing. So basically we just added the IP addresses here, and I added the network that it's in. So we're in the 192.168.10.0 network /25, and this guy's IP address is going to be .16, this one's going to be .17, this one's going to be .18. And up here, he's in his own little point-to-point network that I made a video of a couple days ago, and so his IP address is .161. So really, that's all we need as far as the network design goes. Yeah, I mean the test setup goes. So we've got the all the hardware connected, plugged in. We've got everything, layer 1 cabled up, everything's ready to go. This one's already got layer 3 provision in it, which was in that other video. So now I just have to provision these guys. And actually I've already set the IP addresses in these, and I'll have to make a separate video on the MX2, because that's a different beast altogether. But we'll look at we'll look into setting up the Cisco ports. That's going to be real simple. There's not much to them. They're just going to be access ports. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so here's the testbed setup, and so these are the MX2s, MX2 1, MX2, MX2 number 3, This is the router, of course, and the switch. And this up here is the Zotac. So now we've got layer 1 done. Here's the cables for it. I did have to make a change. I started from Ethernet port 100, and this switch starts from 101. So now it's on ports 1, 2, and 3, and I updated the drawing here. We'll look at it in a second. And of course we did the Zotac the other day, so it should be up and happy. So I wanted to talk about these MX2s real quick, because I didn't want to just leave you hanging with no options, because you can't really buy these yet. But there's nothing real fancy about these. They're basically just a single board computer, and if you're in the know, you could probably tell what kind of single board computer is in it. But it's just running a flavor of Debian Linux, and so you can use like a Raspberry Pi, a BeagleBone, a Orange Pi, you know, any of those types of single board computers running a compatible version of Linux to run Iperf on. And then there's, of course, you know, something like this guy right here. This guy right here, the Zotac thing. I'm not even sure if they make this anymore. Yeah, it's kind of cabled in. I can't really show it to you, but anyway, that was kind of expensive. That would be a little overkill. But another thing I also wanted to show you too was if we really wanted to test this the right way, we would probably use an adapter like this and plug it in to our single board computer, so we could have one port, the management port, so we could fire up Iperf and Byobu, and then the other port, the real Ethernet port right here, it would be carrying the traffic. So this is a USB to RJ or Ethernet adapter, and I'm not sure what the bandwidth is on these USB ports, but I would just use it for management anyway, and then use the 100 base T port for the traffic. But I wanted to point that out. And another thing you can do too is you can, if you have an old laptop computer, you can that's running you know, Windows or whatever, you can format that thing. Instead of throwing it out, format it and put, you know, Ubuntu on it, or some form of Linux, and use it. And then you can plug, you know, several of these guys in. You don't really need several, you just need 2. But then you'd have the capability to maybe generate some gig traffic out of it, instead of these little single board computers. I'm not sure what exactly the horsepower is, but I'm sure 100 megs probably going to be its max. And this guy up here, this Zotac thing, it does have a gig port on it, but we'll see if it actually can do it. So also Iperf will run on Windows, but BYOBU won't. So yeah, or you can just get, if you have an old desktop lying around, you know, put Linux on that thing and use it to generate traffic. But those are kind of your options, and I'll go through and show how to set up. You know, this is going to be similar to Ubuntu and Debian. This guy up here, the Zotac guy, is running Centos, which is going to be similar to the Fedora loads and Red Hat. You'll have a good idea or a good example to see how to set it up. Also, if you use so I'm using 3 different computers right here. If you use one computer to do this, you need to make sure you either have 3 network interfaces, so you can use, like, so if you have 3 computers, you'll need, if you have one computer to generate traffic from this side, you will need to have like 3 of these, and or actually 4 Ethernet connectors, 1 for management, 3 generating the traffic. And you can either, you know, go buy those cheapy little PCI boards and plug those in. I think those are like $20 each, Or you can buy these guys. I think these guys are about 20 bucks each too, but they're pretty versatile, so you can move them around. Anyway, those are your options. You can use a single port, but I'm not going to get into that because that's going to get into tagging and a bunch of other stuff, and that'll be for a later video. I went ahead and got a snapshot of our test bed setup so we could look at it at the same time we're provisioning. And I already pulled up a SSH window in the router right here, which is this top window, and this bottom window is a switch. So we've got the router on top, switch on the bottom. I haven't pulled up any of these others. I don't think they'd come up. I don't think these ports are enabled yet. So okay, so where do we start? Well, usually you start from the lowest layer possible. So let's go to layer 2, which is going to be our Ethernet switch. And let's if you remember, I said I changed these ports as 1, 2, and 3. So let's go on our config and let's do a show config. And okay, so the first one has already been enabled, and it's already stuck on VLAN 10, which is good because that's what our lag is in VLAN 10. And maybe I should have wrote that up there, but it's really just local to the switch. In other words, VLAN 10 only means something to this guy right here. It's not going to mean anything to these guys over here. They won't know. So by the time he sends a packet out here, he's going to strip that VLAN tag off of there. This is just so the switch knows that these ports here are going to access, and these are all in the same network. Okay, so yeah, it looks like these are up. I don't see a no shut on them. It might not need it, but let's go ahead and do. Now, when you want to monitor, when you're turning things up, it's good to do a term mon. That stands for terminal monitor. Basically monitors the console messages. So let's do a config T, and then interface. I'm gonna make this a little bigger right now. Let's go this guy right here. Interface. Oops. Let's do this guy. And let's do a no shut on him. Okay. And yeah, that didn't seem to do anything. Let's do a show. Yeah, so you can see the console message. Let's do a show. Let's do a write, and then we'll do a show config again. And yeah, so it's not gonna. I guess no shut is the default. If it was shut down, it would say shut down. So oops, sorry, wrong one. Yeah. So let's go ahead and turn the other two up. So it's config T. Now we're gonna do interface range fast 102 to 123. I think that's how that goes. Oh yeah. And so we're just going to do ports 2 and 3 at the same time. They're going to be identical to the port 1 up here. So we're going to go ahead and say he's going to be in VLAN 10, and his switch port mode is access. Okay. And then we're going to do a control C. Oop, darn it. We're going to write it. I think they're already. Well, let's go look. Let's do a show config. I forgot to do a no shut on them. They look like they're up. Let's go look at them. So let's do a show interface fast 102. Show int fast. Show interface fast 102. Okay. Yeah, so he's up. Line protocol is up and connected. Excellent. So that is kind of strange. I don't remember I don't remember unlocking these. So a lot of times what's good to do is if you're not using a port, they should really be in a shutdown state. So 4 through 43, they really should be shut down. I'm surprised that they default up, but we can fix that. So it's 4 through 43, and so let's do a config T, and let's do an interface or range 104 through 43. Interface range fast 104 through 43. And let's just do a shut on them. And I did a control C and a write. Whoa, now they're all down. Okay, so now do a show config. Yeah, see, now they're all shut down that way. So if you plug something in, even though they're not really provisioned, they default to VLAN, I believe it's 0 or 1 or something like that. Whatever this management port's on is its default. It's like VLAN 1 or something like that. And so, I mean, theoretically, you could plug him in and he would basically come up. I don't know, but it's just safe to leave him shut down until you're... So that way you can plug stuff in and out and nothing's going to happen. So, okay. There's a little housekeeping there. And, one of the things we forgot to do was let's do a show config. I don't know if we need to. We can put descriptions on these. So this would be like MX2 number 1, MX2 number 2, and MX2 number 3 on these different ports. I don't know. I think with our drawing we'll be able to figure it out. Plus it's not going to be permanent. If these are going to be permanent, we would, probably want to put descriptions on there. Okay. If you notice, I changed the screen resolution, so hopefully it looks a little better. I did make some of the stuff smaller, so I hope everyone can see it okay. But I noticed it was getting fuzzy when you replayed it, so hopefully this will be better. Okay, so back to what we were doing here. Let's see if we can ping. So I'm on the 3750 here. Let's see if we can ping this .16 guy here. So let's see, ping 192.168.10.16. Ah, excellent. So let's see if we can ping 17. Ah, 2 for 2. Let's see, how about 18? Well, how about that? Excellent. So we can ping these guys, and let's see if we can ping 161. So ping 92.168.10.161. Yep. All right. Well, we've got layer 3 up to all 3 MX2s and the Zotac. So now we need to start installing some applications. Okay, so I've already laid it out for us. Here's the drawing for the testbed setup, and I went ahead and laid out and logged into the Zotac, and this is the router. This is the Ethernet switch. You should still be logged in, and this is our test device we're going to use or set up today. Actually, we're going to do the Zotac and the MX2 number 1. Unfortunately, its host name is Muxall. Just kind of ignore that. Just look at the IP address and associate it with MX2 number 1, so which are both .16. So, and I noticed I had an error in this IP address. It says it's .161. Well, .161 is actually the gateway IP address, not the Zotac IP address. So I just kind of cut in a fix there. That's a genuine bodge, drawing bodge. Here's the website for here's a website for Iperf and Byobu, and I'm on the downloads page, and so we're going to use, the Debian load for the MX2, and we're going to use the Fedora load for CentOS, and I know that sounds kind of odd, but Fedora, CentOS, and Red Hat are all pretty much the same thing. In fact, I think they're all made by Red Hat, but I could stand to be corrected on that. Anyway, so this will be the commands we're going to use. Since this is going to be for Fedora, and if you click on this, actually, we're going to need an extra library for our CentOS box right here, and that is going to be the EPEL library. And if you've not done this before, I'm not going to get into it because this video is going to be too long as it is. But if you cd, if you want to check to see if you have it, just cd to /etc / it's a yum.repos.d, I think. And then you'll see this EPEL repo, and that stands for extended packages for enterprise Linux or something like that. You can Google it, and if you just look inside this file, we'll just cat it here real quick. It's just it basically just points you to the different Fedora sites for this is for debugging. Here's the source code, where to get the packages from. So and you can see the EPEL. See, this is EPEL 6, so that's what we need, right? The EPEL 6. Because this is actually CentOS 6. So yeah, you'll need that. You need to install that. You can Google how to install that. I can get into it, but now we're getting into Linux administrator stuff. But just make sure you have that in there. If you don't, Google how to install the EPEL repository for CentOS, whatever flavor you have. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on the internet for that. So anyway, back to so we've got the repository set up, and you need to make sure that all your DNS stuff is set up. And the easiest way to do it is I usually just ping you can ping Google or whatever. I'll ping my website. Yeah, so if you can't ping resolve a host name, you'll need to fix your DNS in here as well. And on CentOS, just to kind of show you real quick, it's in /etc/ sysconfig /network scripts. Okay, and we're using ETH0, right? So if you just vi ETH0, you'll need to make sure your DNS server is set up correctly here. And here's the gateway, and there's a bunch of other stuff. One of the things to note about CentOS is this network manager right here. If you start VIing these files and not using network manager, I would just turn it off on the interface. Otherwise, you're going to have all kinds of strange and unusual things happening. So anyway, and we can get into that later. If people have questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Okay, so now we can install a package, and I happen to know that Byobu is already installed on this box. I guess I was using it for testing in the past. So, but the command to do it is actually right here. Yum install Byobu. Just paste that baby right in there. You have to be root to do this, by the way. And it'll probably come back and say, yeah, I can see here it's gone to the EPEL library, and he's just refreshing all the packages, and the request URL returned error 404 not found. Yeah, well, here you go. We talk about Red Hat. They're telling you to contact Red Hat. Let's see. Yeah, so I knew it was already installed. This is This is odd. I haven't used this box in several years, so well, let's just try to install Iperf. Okay, so let's just do a yum list Iperf install packages. Yeah, see, this guy is already installed. Gosh, he's on 2.05. What is this guy on? Iperf for Fedora, Red Hat. Oh yeah. Oh, here we go. So 2.05 July 2010. That's yeah, it's been a while since I've used this box. I should probably update the whole thing. Okay, so I went ahead and did a yum update on the Zotac box and rebooted it and did all the stuff, and I checked and it didn't update the Iperf package. I didn't check the did I check the B? I don't think I checked the Byobu. Oh yeah, I did right here. And I don't remember what the other one is, but yeah, it didn't update this Iperf. So they're getting ready to end of life, Centos 6. My guess is they're not updating any of the Apple libraries for it either. So we'll just continue on with what we're doing and move forward. Okay, so now we're going to look at our Muxall MX2 right here. And just to let you know, I had to do a apt get update on each one of the MX2s, and I didn't want to bore you with that. But let's start from, so first we need to make sure when you plug something in that it can actually do a DNS lookup properly. So we're going to ping, you can ping anything, google.com. In fact, I can do that, google.com. And yeah, that works. So and like I showed you in the CentOS, this is run a flavor of Debian, and Ubuntu should be the same. So to look at your DNS setting, you see /etc/network. Okay, and then just VI interfaces. And if you look right here, here's the DNS name server setting, and just ignore the stuff with the comments. We have scripts that populate this information. Now, there are several ways to skin the network cat in all these boxes. This is just the way I do it. There are other packages, and you'll have, if your box is different, it might not behave the same. And I know that's kind of vague, but if you're familiar with Linux, there's like 14 different flavors of it, and each flavor has probably 2 or 3 different ways to configure the network. So I try to keep it simple, but there are a lot more complicated ways. Anyway, back to what we're doing. So I'm not going to bore you with the commands to do it, or showing you how to do it, but I'll show you the commands. It's once you do the apt get update. So that's the first thing you want to do, right? The second command is going to be apt get install Byobu. Okay. And then the third command is going to be apt get install Iperf. All right. And those are the 3 commands you'll need. Okay, so after all the packages are installed, and we need to do some packages being Iperf and Byobu, and the updates. We're going to start with Byobu, and we need to do some house cleaning so it works properly with PuTTY. Okay, and so if you pull up the Byobu website and go to documentation, and then if you scroll down this Ubuntu manual all the way down to where it says bugs, okay, and
and there's a couple of them. You can see all the putty stuff, and to save you some time, I tested this before doing the video, as we need to fix a couple of these. It's this one and this one, and I think this is more of a warning right here, so there's nothing to fix. So and you can read this. I remember what it is, so I'm just going to I'm going to kind of move this off to the side, and I'm going to open. In fact, let me get rid of these two windows real quick. So I'm going to put the Zotac on the top here, kind of make him a little bigger, and then I'm going to put oh, that's not it. There it is. So I'm going to put the MX2 number 2 right underneath them. This way we can do them both at the same time. And so I would suggest in putty that there's two places you have to apply it. One is to the active window and one is to the configuration. So starting with the Zotac, you're going to right click and we're going to go to change settings. And it's going to pull up this window here, and we are going to go to the Zotac, and we're going to say translation, and we're going to come over to this drop down under character set translation. We're going to select UTF-8, okay, and we're going to hit apply. All right. Okay, so we're just going to come up and say the second one. The first one was oh, sorry, I did it backwards. I did the bottom one, second one first. So we're going to do the second one, or the first one is under terminal keyboard functions. Terminal, oh, here's terminal keyboard, then function keys, and we're going to use this Xterm R6, okay? And we're going to hit apply. And you're going to do that for both these windows, but another thing you need to do so you don't have to keep doing this is you go to new session, okay? And that'll pull up this window here. And then you're going to scroll all the way down to Zotac, and you're going to say load, all right? And then you're going to make the same changes. So we're going to go to terminal keyboard, Xterm, okay, and then we're going to go back up and just leave it like that. You're going to go to session, and you're going to say save, okay, and then you can go to window translation. We're going to do this UTF-8 again, okay, and then we're going to go back up to session, and we're going to save it again, because, and then you don't have to make these changes every time you open up an SSH session, okay? So after that's saved, and you can actually check this. You can say open. It'll pull up a new window, and you can look at the settings for it and go to, we'll just look at one of them, translation. Yeah, see, it's set. Okay. So we're all good. So on the site, we have to do the same thing for the second, the MX2 number 1. So, but this time I'm just going to go to new session, and then I'm going to say, I know this is very confusing. I'm going to say to load. We know it's this .16. I'm just using this old session right here. So please don't let that confuse you. We're still on .16. Which is this guy right here. See the .16. Okay, anyway, so we're going to go to terminal, keyboard, function keys, and select Xterm R6. And I believe we can go to window, translation, UTF-8, and then back to session, and then hit save. All right. And now I'm just going to open it. Okay. I'm just going to close this old window. That saves us from having to do it twice. I wanted to show you that because a lot of people stub their toe. They think they changed the session, and but it doesn't actually save it. You have to go to that new and mess around with it. It's just a putty thing. Okay, so now we got them both fired up. They should be okay. So let's test this. It's going to BYOBU. Okay. And that looks okay. And let's do BYOBU. And that looks okay. And see down here is kind of the window name. It just says 0. And I think the asterisk just means that's the active one. And you'll probably need to, so if you go back to the BYOBU web page, scroll up, and these key bindings right here is kind of a good list of stuff. You're going to need create window, move to windows, and maybe some other things, but it's create and move. Backwards and forwards are the most common. So you can try that. So we're going to say, I'm just going to say echo, this is window 1. Okay. And then I'm going to create, so I'm just going to hit F2. All right. You can see it added another window down here. I'm going to say echo, this is window 2. All right. And so to go back to the first one, you had that's F3. So there's F3. Oh, so you can just keep hitting F3. It looks like it scrolls back to the beginning. So you got your 2 windows. And you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this is a lot of work just for 2 windows. Why can't I just have 2 SSH sessions? And this will become obvious later. So, okay, so we've done that. And so now we need to move to the next step. Okay, so we've got BYOBU going, and we got a couple windows open. And let's look at Iperf real quick, and what we're going to be using it. You can read through this. I'm on the Iperf homepage, and we're going to be using UDP because we're going to create some streams. We want to measure some packet loss, some delay and jitter, and we don't care about multicasting, but I was going to go over some of this other stuff a little bit. Cross-platform, yeah, I don't really care. This right here is interesting. Client and server can have multiple simultaneous connections. Now that used to not be the case, and that's why we installed BYOBU, so we could have basically just run multiple Iperf instances. So like in one window it'd be a server, and one window would be a client, and but now it looks like we don't have to do that anymore. But I'm not sure if the version we have, which is the 2.05 version, if I remember correctly, actually supports this. I see there's an Iperf 3 up here. So yeah, well, that's kind of interesting. Servers handle multiple connections rather than quitting after a single test. Okay, yeah, that's done that forever. And that just means if you stop a test and restart one, the server's going to keep responding. Can run for a specific time, print periodic, intermediate bandwidth. Okay, this is kind of nice. And you'll see it's kind of like a VT100 thing. I guess this -I is maybe if you want to write it to a log or something like that. You can run server as daemon. Man, we don't care about that. Use representative streams to test out how link layer compression affects your achievable bandwidth. Oh, that's interesting. A server accepts a single client simultaneously. A server accepts a single client simultaneously, multiple clients simultaneously. Geez, I don't know if I understand that. Ignore TCP slow start. This is all new. This is probably all in 3, so I don't know. This set target bandwidth I thought has been around for quite a while. And we don't care about IPv6, set congestion, CTP. Okay, yeah, so the rest of it's okay. Okay, so we're going to go over here to these Iperf user docs. And we're using 2.05. And I was looking at this earlier. So this is the Iperf 3 documentation. This is 2.06 and 2.07 and 2.08. And then we're going to use this. And I think this version 2 has been around for quite some time. Okay, so I made a couple files. And so on the Zotac, let's look at our... so up here, I'm going to... On 162, I'm going to create a server, an Iperf server. And on the MX2 number 1 down here, I'm going to create an Iperf client. And I went ahead and put those commands into a file, so I just VI'd Iperf underscore serve underscore 8888, and 8888 is a port number. And so it just has the command in there, Iperf -s, -f means server, -u means UDP, and -p means what port to use. And it's going to use the IP address. And there's probably a way to specify the IP address. I didn't look at it that much because we only have one port to use. One Ethernet port. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to change mod. I'm going to make this executable so we can run it straight from the command line. And so I guess let's go ahead and fire him up, make sure he works. Oops. Oh, okay. Looks his server is listening on UDP port 888. And okay. And okay, so on the MX2 number 1 here, I made a client. So we're going to say VI Iperf, oops. And I named him Iperf client 8888. And I'll explain that. So the command is Iperf -c stands for client. The IP address right here, this is the Zotac's IP address, not his IP address. So we're telling him where the server lives, basically, right? -u is UDP, -p is a port. So we want to go to the server's port 8888. -t means how long to run it for. And actually, I think I'll change that. I think the default is 10 seconds. I'm going to just make it 10 seconds. And we're going to send -b as the bandwidth. And we're going to say, or bits per second, I forget. We're going to say 10 meg. So let's save this and change mod +x. So I'm just making an executable. And yeah, let's run them, see what happens. Well, there we go. He's connected. I don't see any data. Oh, here we go. So yeah, so he ran. Okay, so I went ahead and made another change to that file. I'll show you, and I ran it again. And we'll get more into these. We'll get more into tweaking these in the next video when we start doing the test. But I'll show you real quick. I just VI'd the server, and I added this -i 2. And that basically just tells it to dump stats every 2 seconds. And so I'll run this again here. And so this is the server. I also changed it in the client. You can see right here I added the -i 2. And we'll go ahead and run this test again. And I should have cleared the screen, but see, now you can see it's dumping data every 2 seconds, which is better than just kind of sitting there doing nothing. You don't know what it's doing. And we'll go into more of these what all this stuff means in the next video. And when we start doing our testing, because we'll do some more tweaking to our startup files, and we'll look at these, intervals and bandwidth and jitter and, packet loss and that sort of stuff, and what all these stats mean, and then, why we have two windows, and we'll set up the rest of the, we'll start looking at more of the stats in the router and the switch, and make sure it's behaving. So we'll get more into this and what all this stuff means in the next video. So I hope you like this video. I apologize it's so long. Sometimes testing is like that, though. It takes you 2 days to set up for a test that takes 2 hours to run, and yeah, it's kind of a beating sometimes, but that's part of the game. So I hope you liked it, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.